Namaste. Thank you for being here. It is for me personally an honor and a dream to be here in India. Years and years ago, I studied with a man named Dr. Robert Kiyosaki, created the genius of Dome. He's one of the greatest geniuses of our times. And he disputed what American history says is history. And because American history says civilization started in Greece, and it says and Dr. Fuller says civilization did not begin in Greece. It began in this part of the world, in India, Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia. And the reason he could prove that was by artifacts, by pots and knives and things that could actually prove. And he said the problem with history is it's somebody's story, his story. So white people create the story of history according to them. And Fuller says when you look at artifacts, you'll find the truth. So with that, he said that civilization would move from this part of the world, this is where civilization bloomed, and then it moved into China and the Middle East, then to England, United States, Japan, China, and now it starts here again. So when I say to people that India is the future, I'm not just saying it to make you guys feel good. It is sincerely what I believe. And when I step back and get out of the American dogma or the English dogma of what history is, I can see it. And when you look at where technology is today, technology is here, especially here in India. These are the brightest minds. It seems the minds are more adaptive to it. As you know, most Americans are, fat, stupid, broke. That's why they have to come out to India to find people who want to work. So India really is the future, and the future is today. So it's an honor to be here in India. Just given my background, I'm fourth generation Japanese American, which means I do not speak Japanese. My father was a PhD, the head of education for the state of Hawaii. Very, very good man. They were into public service. My mother and my father took years off to join President John Kennedy's Peace Corps to serve the world. So my family comes from service. My rich dad was my best friend's father, and he was a man with no education because his father died when he was 13 years old, and he took over his father's business. And so he started with nothing. He has no real education, but he became one of the richest men in Hawaii. So when you look at Waikiki Beach today, you look at the beaches, the hula girls, the palm trees, you see these hotels in the background. Those are my rich dad's hotels. And so the story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a story of what two fathers, one highly educated, probably a socialist, and one very rich, a capitalist, tell their two sons, my best friend and I, about money. So I wrote the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It was published in 1997. It was turned down by every American publisher. They said, you do not know what you're talking about. Because in the book, I said, your house is not an asset. I said, savers are losers. And I said, people are coming out of school with no financial education. And so I got crucified in the press. I suspect I'll be crucified here by some of you also. And because I really believe in education. But unfortunately, we have no financial education in schools. So stepping back even further, the reason I wrote this book was in 1972, I was a U.S. Marine pilot fighting in Vietnam. And if you know history, in 1971, President Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. And I really didn't know what it meant in 1972. But in 1971, gold was about $35 US an ounce. And within a year, it was up to about $75 an ounce. And so I didn't know what was happening. I was just out in the area in Vietnam. And my rich dad said, watch this. This event where the dollar, US dollar, is off the gold standard will change the world. And it has. So today, without financial education, if I ask most Americans, what did President Nixon in 1971 taking the dollar off the gold standard mean? Most Americans go, well, That's how stupid Americans are, financially. They may be highly educated, but not rich. So with that, the more I talked to my rich dad, the more I could see this financial crisis coming. And the crisis is today, there's this false economy. There is this false boom built upon counterfeit money, the US dollar. The US dollar is a reserve currency of the world, which means the US dollar was as good as gold up until 1971. But after 1971, the US government was free to print as much money as they wanted. So it causes this huge boom and bust economy. Boom, bust, boom, bust. And what happens is those with financial education get richer. Unfortunately, in America, the middle class is shrinking. And the number of poor in America is increasing. And yet, people in America still send their kids to school and say the same things to them. Go to school, get a job, save money, work hard, buy a house, and invest in the stock market. That's insane from my point of view. Now, to most people, without the benefit of having a financial education, think that's good advice. Most people still think saving money is smart. But let me ask you this, why would you save money when the U.S. government has the right to print money? Why would you save it? That means every day the value of your labor and your money goes down. So today in America, we have more and more poor people going to school, working hard, saving money, but getting poorer. Because the very thing they work for, the US dollar, is corrupt. When I say that in America, I'm always at risk of being shot, as you know. But, how can you say that? But I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying this is the world we live in. And with financial education, when the dollar comes down, I get richer. When the stock markets crash, I get richer. When the economy goes down, I get richer. That's what financial education is. It's not a right or wrong. Financial education gives you the ability to adapt to the changing economy. So in 2007, for 1997, I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. 2007, exactly as I predicted, the real estate market in America collapsed. Millions of people found out the hard way their house is not an asset. Millions, when they lose their houses, lose their jobs. Then they lose their savings. They lose their retirement. And today in America, poverty is at an all-time high. At the same time, the Federal Reserve Bank started printing trillions of dollars. For the last 2 or 3 years, they've been a thing called quantitative easing. It means printing money. They were printing $85 billion a month. And the school teachers still say to the kids, save money. You have got to be crazy. Why would you save money when they're printing $85 billion a month? That's stupid. So I get hammered because I say that. Now, the good news is, when the real estate market crashed, I made millions. It's good news for me. Bad news for everybody else. But that's what financial education is. It's not who's right or who's wrong, but can you adapt to the markets? And today, with volatility in all markets globally, we need to be more adaptive. So with that said, I'm very pro-education. I just do not like what they're being taught today. We have got to give kids financial education. Not the stuff from the banks, not the stuff from the government, so they're going to tell their story, and not the stuff from financial experts. In America today, my competitors still say, save money. They still say, buy mutual funds, buy securities. If you actually believe the stock market is secure, you've got to be crazy. The U.S. stock market is completely rigged, 100%. It is designed to pull all the suckers in. The market goes up. Today is at an all-time high, over 17,000 on the Dow. And all the guppies, they're chasing Alibaba today. They're jumping into the market at all-time highs. That's stupid. Because all markets are going to come down. And this time it will wipe out more and more people. So that's the reason, ladies and gentlemen, I go around and I speak and I talk. I get criticized by the press because they say, I don't know what I'm talking about. But if you look at history, because I'm talking about history, America today, the middle class is way down. Poverty is way up. And our school teachers still say to kids, go to school, get a job, and save money. Invest in the stock market. That's crazy. So I go and I speak, and all over the world. And I thank my friend Richard Tan here and Veronica. They were the very first people who ever heard my talk. I was in Singapore in 1996. And I got up on stage and I talked about my rich dad and my poor dad. And we've been friends ever since because Richard is in the same business as I am. We're into education, doing some of the best. We're not educators, we're inspirers. We want to inspire people to be better. Inspire is spiritual. It's God. I think God wants all of us to be rich. But without financial education, we'll always have a gap between the rich and the poor. So really that's my reason, that's my drive. I go around the world. I learned about financial education simply playing Monopoly. 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel. Today my wife and I own big hotels, oil wells, companies. We're capitalists. And that's why we love being here in India. It's the start of the future is here. But the future can only start if you improve your education. I've seen your stats in education. They're going down, just like America. That's because our school system is behind the times, and the future of education is now with the cell phone. And school teachers are technically obsolete right now. So when I say that, I get criticized again. But that is the future we live in. And it's changing so fast. So with that said, I say thank you, and I give my wife a chance to say something, because I would not be here without her. Some people accuse her of marrying me for money. When she met me, I had nothing. Like most entrepreneurs, I was bust again, but as I said, I was broke, but I was not poor. Broke is temporary. Poor is eternal. That's why my sweetheart Kim, I wouldn't be here without her. Thank you.
Not only did he have nothing, he was about $750,000 in debt on top of it, bad debt. But it's an honor to be here, my first time also in India. So impressed with what we've seen. We've only had about 7-8 days here. We've packed as much into it as possible. Beautiful country, wonderful people. Absolutely love it. Been learning a little bit about the education initiatives for girls, which is fabulous. More and more girls getting educated, more and more young women getting educated. And you guys are the country of entrepreneurship. And I've had an opportunity to speak with several women, successful women, powerful women. I really do, and as Robert said, not just to flatter, but it's my experience, is the women of India are extremely strong, very, very strong, and they can certainly they are a force to be reckoned with. So I am here to speak to the women and encourage the women to be truly the world role models when it comes to business. There is a tremendous lack of financial education across the board, and that applies to women as well. I see women, and this is in your country and our country and many countries, have absolutely no control when it comes to their money. They often blindly turn it over to other people, be it family members, husbands, financial planners. And the statistics are for women as we get older, more and more of us find ourselves in financial crisis because we haven't been educated. We've actually been taught to depend upon somebody else. So I love to educate and encourage women to really take charge. If they're married with their spouse, do this together, learn together, grow together. It's not rocket science. I started with a tiny little 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. I was scared to death back in 1989, and it was just a learning process. So for me, seeing the women of India, it's a breath of fresh air. They're eager to learn and to grow, and it's my honor to be here. And if I can inspire in any way at all, that's what I would like to do. It's a fabulous country, very, very rich country, and it's my honor to be here. So thank you very much. Richard Tan, Success Resources. 1996 we started with him, first delivering the message. So we asked Richard, we called Richard, said, Richard, we've never been to India. We'd love to come to India. would you like to do an event? And he so graciously said yes. So that he is the reason we are here, as with Soren. So Richard, what would you like to say?
Well, everything that I want to say, Robert and Kim already said. But I want to thank Soren also. We have also been friends for many years, and to do something together like that